Hello everyone and welcome back to Drivenmad. Now you join me back with my beautiful 2003 Mitsubishi L200. Now we've had a few problems with this truck over and over again, and one of them was the throttle body was leaking a bit of oil around the engine. Now I've just recently done a road trip round the top of Spain in this truck, so I covered nearly 5,000 kilometres, and over that time the throttle body has decided to leak again quite a lot. So we're going to have to fix it once and for all. I've tried new gaskets, I've cleaned off the surfaces. I believe there's a little leak at the back of the throttle body on where there must be a little seal where it moves, the actual actuator point, which I'll show you in a minute. But I do believe it's also coming out the seal again. So to stop most of it, I'm going to actually put some sealant on. Now I know this isn't recommended. They say for throttle bodies you should use a gasket. I've tried, the surface is perfectly flat, but for some reason it just keeps leaking. So we're going with some Worth high temperature gasket maker, and we're going to put that on there and just see if it works. I'm pretty confident it will. So let's take it apart again and get that gasket sealant on there. Right, now if we have a little look in here, you can see around that gasket at the bottom, it's weeping quite a lot down there. I don't know if you're able to see, but the oil has begun to weep around here. Hang on, let's see if you can see that there. Yes, you can. And it's running down the back of the engine there, and it's also running down this pipe here. There's a breathing pipe, the oil breather tube there, that thick foam one. It's running down and actually dripping down there. Can you see it's dry? I haven't driven it for a while. And you can see there on the exhaust manifold that there's actually a leak. So we need to get that fixed, and I think we're going to start by gunking this bugger together. Right, now that the battery's disconnected, obviously we can disconnect the sensors now, just being careful, battery's going off, just so I don't throw up any codes or any problems with engine management lights and things. Now, size 12s all round, there's 3 bolts, there's one here, one here, one here. What I'm going to do is start off by removing the actual intercooler pipe to get that out of the way, and then we'll have a bit more space. Right, just push that down there so it's out of the way. Right, and now with these sensors, I'm just going to unplug this one like so, nice and simple. And this little one, you just need a flat head. The piece of metal should just lift up all the way. Obviously make sure you don't lose it. Then you should just be able to unplug the sensor like that. Nice and simple. Next job is our size 12s. Now I'll just begin by slackening them off. This sensor here has a vacuum line on it, so what we'll do by just simply pushing it off with my thumb, there we go, and now we should be completely relieved of it. So you can see oil's made its way all the way out here. Oil quite simply has come all the way through, which isn't ideal. Don't really want lots of oil in the throttle body, but this truck has done nearly 300,000, so I'm going to cut it some slack. And I just did a 5,000 kilometre road trip, so the actual throttle body itself, I've missed a vacuum line on the back there, so yet again with my fingers just push that off. There we go. Now the throttle body can come off with the gasket at the top, and the bottom gasket we can look at, which is completely oily as well. Right, so if we look here, you can see clearly where it's leaking at the back right there, and it's gone all the way through the gasket and it's coming out the bottom right here. So the gasket isn't working, it's not doing what I wanted it to, which is probably be a gasket. So I'm going to clean this surface up completely. I'm going to stuff something down here so I don't get too much debris inside the intake. Alright, so all the surfaces have been sanded, brake cleaned and wiped off. Now I'm going to arrange the top half of the throttle body, because obviously we've got to put the gasket on the car, on the actual intake. Right, so it's going to go on the car like this, and I'm going to do the gasket on the car for the final bit, but I need to get this lined up, the top half lined up and gasketed here to begin with. So I'm going to use the bolts. Obviously, there are a few things that go on the bolts when it's in the car, but I can take them out one by one and keep it in line when I do so. So what we'll do is get off this stuff. This is a high temperature. It's for oil pans, gearboxes, so it can do oil. So there's no reason why, if I don't go nuts, it shouldn't work on here. Alright, so now we'll get the throttle body back on, making sure that the inside obviously doesn't have anything in it. And I'll make sure that that vacuum line at the back on that sensor goes on first, and then we're free to put it down. We'll just get this one here we can tighten down because there's nothing that goes on. This one has the earth going to it, so we'll put that through there and back in. And this one has the wiring harness going through it. So what we'll do is put that back through there. Now I had a torque spec on this and it was about 15 Newton meters when I looked before, and I didn't like that spec. That to me wasn't quite good enough. It's not, you can't go nuts because it's all aluminium, so really don't crank on it too much, but we don't want it leaking, so we need to make sure that it's all compressed. There we go. I haven't got too much excess, which is nice. Just make sure they're all nice and hand snug. Right, everything's back on. We have got the vacuum line on here, two sensors plugged back in. This one, don't forget the metal clip. When you put it back on, you need the little pin that slots over. I've piped back on and tightened up. I've forgotten that many a time and blown that off as I go to test drive it. And also, all our earths on there, and the wiring harness bracket is attached to this one here. So that is us done. The excess I've just wiped off here. The bottom I'm going to leave because the bottom's the worst area for leaking. So I'm going to leave as much gunk on there as possible, and hopefully that will do the business. Now it says it will take 10 minutes. 10 minutes seems quite short, so I'm going to give it a day. I don't really need the truck, so I'm not going to drive it exactly. So I'm just going to leave it as it is and let it completely set and go. I don't think it ever goes really hard. It's just it should turn into sort of more of a silicon consistency. So we'll let that go, and in the future there could be a little update video to make sure that it's all right. But that's a really simple little job to do. The gaskets I bought from Mitsubishi last time, and these are OEM gaskets. They were hard to find, so I had to get them from Mitsubishi, but they did not do the job. Stay tuned, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.